All right, guys, welcome back to another episode with the Nerd and
the Byrd.
Oh, yeah, let's get these questions going. Hey, you guys have been writing in really good questions. Super appreciate it. We're going to jump right into it. And this is a business question. And it says, Deborah, if I am starting out in the loan officer space or realtor space, I guess, how would you suggest me establishing a personal brand?
Well, that's kind of a deep question. That would be a very long, and I'm learning
all day, sister.
I'm learning at landing the plane quicker. But I will say you can't establish a personal brand until you even know who you are. And let me just say, sometimes we think we know who we are, and it's part of the evolutionary process. But too many people, in my opinion, especially new loan officers, they hear other top originators like yourself, and I hear it all day because they compare themselves to you. But they will take what other top producers are doing or what they're saying, and they project it onto their own brand of what they think that they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So they'll say things like, I help people grow wealth through real estate. And I'm like, but you can't even tell me the difference between investing, saving, and budgeting, and how you can leverage mortgage as good debt for building wealth. So I will say it takes time, and you must start. And I know sometimes it can be scary and ugly, but you got to do some inward work to discover who is it that you are. What is your character? What's your integrity? What are the things that you stand for? And that's part of what I love to do, simply because, you know, here you and I are identical twins from the exact same chromosomes. And when I had moved back to Dallas,
same egg, same sperm.
Same sperm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's if I could figure out how to differentiate myself between my identical twin when we had the same option of products and company and area, then anybody can. But you have to be willing to explore and have someone guide you and asking questions and pushing on those questions, because we all buy our own story, to be perfectly honest. And I also tell clients, you know, just quite frankly, you can't be doing what the Nerd is doing right now when you're not at chapter 20. You need to learn what the Nerd did at chapter 1, 2, and 3, and you need to be doing those things to then build yourself up to where she's at today, because you can't go out there and pretend and fake it. People can sniff test that out.
Yeah.
So
I think in the old days, like, it was that whole theory of fake it till you make it, and that just doesn't work anymore. Like, people's BS meter is higher than ever, and it's phony, and people can see that. And so I think that's the number one thing that people probably DM me or message me about is, hey, I'm thinking of this color scheme or this font.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it is so much less about like what colors and font type and, you know, as it is. And I think the thing is you have to find your uniqueness. And so a lot of people say, well, what's your why and what are you passionate about? And like, normally when you start out in business, you could be passionate about helping people, but that might not pay the bills. You might have to do something that you don't necessarily love to do to get you to the place of doing the thing that you're actually passionate about, and that's okay. But instead of saying, well, what's your why, I would ask the question, what's your uniqueness? Like, there's a really famous personal branding coach named Rory. He helps all the like bajillionaires. And that's what he says. He's got like specific questions to help discover what that is. And he starts out with asking, well, what is unique about you? And not everybody can answer that, you know, right away. And I think that is okay that you can't. But my message that I would say to people is it's so much less about the logo. And I mean, heck, my stuff is black and white, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like the Nike, people are like, oh, but I want the Nike swoosh. And you've got to, it's so much less of that. If you have that, fantastic. And if that becomes, but sometimes someone's name is just their personal brand. You know, you don't have to be a tagline. You don't have to have a certain image that goes along with it. Sometimes it's just your name.
Well, and I'll add to that a lot of people think they determine what the personal brand is, when in reality, it's not what you say it is. It's how you leave people feeling and what other people say about you. So the first litmus, is that how you say it, litmus?
No idea.
LITMUS, litmus test. it's a science test that we would do. Anyways, you haven't heard that before?
Yeah, I know I have. I just
Is
can't spell it.
I will look at your clients' testimonials, and I will go off of what you. So the questions I ask people is why you and why do you matter, which is a very difficult. Those are very difficult questions to answer, and it usually takes time, and it like haunts people. I have clients that will tell me those questions you asked me haunt me, because anybody can do the mortgage process. It's not like it's changed that much from qualifying, you know,
the manufacturing part.
So why you and why do you matter? But then beyond that is I will go and read the reviews, and if they say proactive communication, or they really made me feel like they could anticipate my problems and address them before I even had to ask them. I'm thinking about your reviews because I audited yours not too long ago. And that's really what your personal brand is. And what you do, I don't care if you're 7 years old, because now with the internet, anything you put out there is a reflection of you and something that you care about. So I'll say the two biggest mistakes that I see when developing a personal brand, beyond just not being true to you and authentic and vulnerable enough, which takes some self-awareness and forgiveness to be able to put that out there, but it's too many topics. It's like they're trying to be a business coach, a thought leader, a financial advisor, a CPA. It's like too many topics and not narrowing it down so that you're an expert in one first. And then also too many audiences. And I don't mean different mediums. I mean, who is your avatar? Do you even have an avatar? Like where you are so in that headspace of that person where you know their problems before they even know what the real problem is. And so that's what I would say is where you start when developing a personal brand. And you just have to be honest, and you need someone to call you out on your own bullshit because let me tell you, I was really good at wearing that mask and pretending. And I eventually had to be like, you know what? I don't like calculating Schedule E income and Schedule C and sitting behind a desk all day running credit reports. I could talk to people all day long and teach as you're staring at me like, would your mouth stop moving at the moment? No, just kidding.
No, but I also think in a weird way when people hear personal branding, they just almost immediately think of like what their social media. Do you feel like that when they're like, I want to get my personal brand? And sometimes I feel like what they're saying, I could be wrong, but I feel like what they're saying is I want a better presence on social media. And I would also flip the script and say, think of social media as just a digital reputation. You know,
good.
Yeah, it's more of that than the personal branding and how you show up on social, because you can't be all business on social.
Yeah.
Like
that was hard for you.
Today I had to drive to Fort Worth, and I was like, I put a thing on my Instagram story and I'm like, what's the over under on if you think I'm going to actually get there? Like not on time, because I'm always on time, but not get lost. And that's not business related.
But you have a GPS. Like, is there really...
When you go to certain places in what we call Cowtown, it doesn't actually take you all the way there. What I did find out is I took my left too early, and so it probably was more operator error. But whenever I'm trying to find title companies or like real estate offices, it's a GPS. Like, but I did get a tip from a follower that said download Waze, the iPhone.
I'm sorry. Have you just heard of Waze?
No, I've heard of it before, but I'm like, is it worth the download? I really hate a bunch of apps on my phone, so I just.
Because it even tells you when there's police officers and like hazard ahead.
It's worth the download.
Yes.
I don't like to muddy up my screen.
Yeah, because it will tell you like other routes and, you know.
Yeah, I could have probably used that.
I speed quite a bit. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. You get the next one.
Okay, this is a personal question.
Does it say who it's from? Who the follower is?
No. What is one thing that people don't know about each of you? Should we try to answer for each other or no? What's one thing that most people don't know? I used to
be a professional roller skater.
Okay, let's please define professional.
Very professional. I'm pretty sure I took home the gold. That was like the one girly. So I
think everybody took home the gold, but carry on.
Okay, well, that was like the one girly sport that we did because we were raised by our dad. Our parents got divorced in second grade, and so we were in like all the normal sports like soccer, basketball, volleyball. But I really liked it was figure roller skating, and like you had to remember the duck, like the shoot the duck. Anyways, I just remember getting to wear the really girly outfits with the matching booties, and we would like prance around. I really like that. I also
We should
eventually
probably
worked
bring that back.
we could. I've got pictures.
No, like let's go get leotards and like get the booties, and
That
we'll
could be
do
for
a
our TikTok.
podcast.
Oh my gosh.
We could make that a TikTok.
Yeah.
But we could.
I was just going to say, I do feel like that catapulted my Sonic career when I worked at Sonic. Like, the biggest tip I got at Sonic was $10. And I'm just saying, I think it was the skates.
Why do you think you got the $10?
The skates. I'm a professional.
But there's a lot of people who skate at Sonic, and
There's only one that can take home the gold.
oh my God, this is ridiculous.
Okay, what's your thing?
Okay, one thing that nobody knows.
She has 14 toes.
No, I do not.
Just kidding.
I would say that I literally almost failed the SATs. As shocking as that may sound, I don't like taking big tests, and I wouldn't finish tests because I would make sure like every kid had a pencil and paper, and like, does everyone have what they need?
Is everybody else okay?
And I really think it's because I had one of those assessments done. It's not like the DISC assessment, because this is the type of assessment where you can't direct. Like if you wanted to be a high D or I, you could tell what the question was asking. Yeah. And they say from a scale from 1 to 10, which being a 1 or a 10 is extreme, but in 1 isn't any better than a 10. It just is on a scale. But my objective reasoning was a 9. So I am really good at sitting back and looking at every possible angle before making a decision. So my challenge was I could defend any answer to possibly being correct. It was until I learned you have to pick the answer choice that is most correct most of the time. Because I am really good at, and you probably get frustrated when you're venting about certain things, or even our family members. I'm like, but I could see where there's always multiple
like Queen
angles.
of Devil's advocate. I'm like, can you just agree with me? Like, but I could see where
It's just looking, that whole thing of like the 6 and the 9. From my angle, it's a 6. From your angle, it's a 9. Not to mention 69.
Wow. Go figure. Bringing up 69. Wow.
6 and the 9. And I could be like, that is a 6. And I would be defiant, and I would die on my grave defending it is a 6. But I'm technically right and you're technically right. So I really enjoy even helping people today, whether it's my children or my lovely twin sister, of just looking from multiple different
angle. Yeah. Macro perspective.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. I'm going to pick one from the bottom.
Are you a bottom or top?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, this one's a different kind of question. So it actually tells us who it's from. It says it's from Kelly.
Oh.
And Kelly says, what obstacle from your past has created an opportunity for you?
An obstacle from, I would say, growing up visiting our mom in different mental institutions and psych wards and halfway houses, and
I don't think we've even talked about that on the podcast. There's people here when you're raised by your dad, they're like, oh, the mom must have been out of the picture. But
just from an early age, I don't know what it was where I always kept a relationship with her. And I know, there would be times she was in a straitjacket behind a red line, and it was like probably the worst thing you can ever do for a mental patient, to be perfectly honest, is put him in a padded room away from their family when they've just had delivery table surprise twins. But I felt like in that moment,
how old were you?
This started from age like 4 or 5, going and visiting, and you would come with me at times, and then eventually you stopped going. And so it gave me a huge sense of a burden, because I remember going, and the nurse had said that mom always looked forward. She knew I would come on Saturdays, and I would have my colored drawings, and how she would contemplate, taking her life, but she just knew that I would be there on Saturday. So it kind of gave me some pressure. And as we developed in sports of, tournaments, I would feel so guilty because she would cry, and almost felt responsible for her happiness and love, which took lots of thousands of dollars healing from. But I was a really good observer of studying just human behavior and why people do what they do and what they want, and the different vehicles that they go through at trying to being loved and accepted. And it's kind
They're
of
not
ironic.
bad people even.
No, and they can't be who they are because they're crazy, like mentally insane. So they have to take medicine that makes them sick, and they can't just be themselves. So I fell in love with the soul of beings and just want everyone to feel loved and happy and accepted. And that's why I wanted to be the Patch Adams of the hospital. Like, I really thought I was going to be, that's Robin Williams, if someone hasn't seen the movie, but it's called Patch Adams.
Patch Adams is like 20 years old.
Yeah. Well, I remember watching that, and I thought he would heal people as humans, not focused on the illness. And usually it was through laughter, and I do like to use humor. And I know, Denise, you get on to me a lot because I'm like always the jokester, but I feel like people can still heal not only through love, but through laughter. And it was until clinicals, and I realized you can't just show up to work with like a red nose. You have to actually like draw blood.
Yeah.
So it didn't last very long. But so yeah, that would be mine.
I guess mine would be, I guess it was really from like middle school. Dad inherited all that money, and he would give us those blank checks where we could go to the mall. And we'd go to like it was like the limited too.
Oh, like you could like bathe in the money.
Oh, yeah, but you could like go to limited too, or he would give us a check and we'd go grocery shopping.
Limited too, I have not.
I spent $10 on a pencil that was this big. It was totally obnoxious and a waste of money, but we had an endless amount. And then it was like this is the thing about money, is that even if you win the lottery, if you don't know how to use your money and manage your money, then you could lose it all. And so that's what happened is we went into high school, and that's really when things went south, and it went south fast. We lost everything. I would just remember like we would wait until our friends, I don't even know if like Carrie and them even know that, even to this day, of like, we would wait till they finished eating their lunch and was like, are you going to eat that? Or
we were such moochers.
I know, but we didn't have food. And
we were too proud, and we were taught to
that's
not
the thing
reveal.
Is dad was very militant. So I think the setback of losing everything in high school and dad losing the house, and remember we were researching like cheapest apartment in Louisville, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no reason why we should have lived there, but we did. But that setback, I think the fear and the anxiety and the stress I felt at that point, and just like, man, I never want to be in that, because I can only imagine, thinking about it, I'm only thinking about how I feel. I can only imagine as a parent how that would have sucked for him, that we're all living in this apartment now because he couldn't even get his own apartment. Mm-hmm. But it's like that setback is ultimately what makes me and drives me, even to this day, that I never want to feel that or be in that position. So, you know what they say, sometimes your setbacks create the best comeback. So,
wow, that was very touching.
Profound.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that's a wrap on this episode with the Nerd and the Bird. Don't forget, share this, like it, subscribe, DM us with more questions. It can be personal.
Yeah, keep them coming.
Business,
and we will call,
game related.
We're going to start calling them out now. So thanks. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you guys for listening. Yell that a little louder.
Should we do that again?
Should we? Okay.
Okay, guys. So as usual, thank you for listening to the Nerd and the Bird podcast. Don't forget to download, save, like, share. What is it? Do you
subscribe?
Download?
Hit the bell. Bing.
Bing.
Yeah, that's YouTube.
And then don't forget to keep sending us your questions and include your names, and we'll even say who it's from.
Give you a little shout out. I am loving these questions. Keep them coming, guys.